hand, we'll get you the microphone. We have the first question by Chris. Start with Tim. Get you there.
Stu, I know that you've had kind of a few days to decompress a little bit, maybe get some sleep. What is today like for you personally and for this organization as a whole?
Well, Emily, I'm just most importantly excited for our players, for our fans, for our staff. There's so many people in our organization that have worked so hard to put us in this position, and now to be here on the cusp of the World Series, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm so happy for everybody who's put in and suffered through a lot of hard times over the last 6 years, and then of course for our fans as well. They deserve this, and I can't wait to see this place tonight.
More questions for Chris? Go in the middle here. On the other side here.
Hey Chris, you've been around some really good clubs and on some really good clubs. What makes this one maybe unlike any other you've been around?
Well, I think the word that comes to mind is resilience. Just the way this club's handled adversity all season. Nothing has come easily to this group. They've found a way to fight back every time they've faced extreme adversity. Even early in the season, when we weren't quite sure what our identity was, and some tough losses that maybe could put you in a 5, 6, 7 game losing streak, and this group would just come back the next day and find a way to win. And I think that sort of sticks with me in terms of the identity of the group and the kind of the way the season's gone as a whole, start to finish. This group has responded every time things have gotten tough.
Go right in front, Chris, with Andy.
Hey Chris, how does the stress level of pitching in the postseason compare to watching the postseason as an executive?
I handle it much better as a player. I've been relatively calm and relaxed all playoffs, but when I was a player, everything was about me, what I needed to do each day to prepare to help the team win a game. This is about everybody else, and so there's so many things that go into it, and focusing time and energy on just really a lot that I can't control. It's way different, but it's also in a lot of ways more fulfilling to see our players, our staff, our fans celebrate and to take joy in watching them. It's been tremendous, and something I'll never forget.
Stay there with Evan, Chris.
Chris, when you got here in December 2020, I think there was some mystery in the organization about exactly what you had in Adolis Garcia. I'm wondering if you can kind of comment a little bit on how the evaluation internally of him kind of morphed and where he was in y'all's eyes versus where he is now.
Well, he was still a developing player, and I think the question we had is he consistent enough to be a good major league player at that point? And I think, honestly, where we were as an organization, we had the ability to give him the runway to work through those things. And I think as he got opportunity, we saw a player with extreme aptitude, a player with incredible work ethic, an energy, a passion for excellence, and continual improvement. And he's made himself into the player he is now. And as you get to know the person, it's no surprise. And I think that's one of the things when you go through a rebuild is you're able to find out about a number of players, and Adolis is certainly one.
Is there row to your left, Chris? Tyler?
Hey Chris, just building off that, when he was DFA'd or whatever it was in 21, I think, did you expect anybody to grab him, or what was the sort of risk calculation?
Well, it's a moment in time decision, and I think that we felt like at that point we could hopefully he would clear and we'd retain him within the organization. We still like him as a player. We just felt like he wasn't one of our top 40 at that time, and we don't always make good decisions. Nonetheless, sometimes you have some luck and they work out, and he did clear, and he stayed in the org, and he earned his way back to the big leagues, and the rest is history.
And one obviously great decision was signing Eovaldi. What did you like about him? What made you think that he could be durable? Because he's always had some injuries in his past.
Yeah, I think we understood the medical risks with Nate and really everybody we signed. We also have a high level of confidence in our medical team, and they've done a great job of keeping these guys on the field for the most part this year. Specific to Nate, just the reputation he has within the industry as a winning player. I think that's what stood out the most. He's performed at the highest level on the biggest stage. He's been in big markets. He's performed But we also knew what kind of teammate he is, how he makes the guys around him better. His work ethic is as good as it gets, and the way he prepares, and the way he wants to win, and the way he puts the team ahead of himself. Those were all things that we took into consideration with Nate, and he's lived up to everything we expected.
Second row, Lee.
One of the things that I've noticed, and particularly in the playoffs, has been your team's defense this year has been much improved over last year's. A couple of guys specifically, Corey Seager and Nate Lowe, Josh Young's defense is better than maybe some people expected. What do you accredit that to, and how do you, when you talk to you about the fundamentals, what do you do to implement that and see the level of success that you've seen this year?
Well, the credit goes to the players and the staff. They've worked at it every single day. They're out there working at it. They take pride in it, and they know how important it is to be a successful team. That they have to be able to defend. And Nate Lowe especially stands out. I mean, he's made himself into a tremendous first baseman defensively, and it's been really fun to see. But it's a lot of hard work and days that your body's not feeling great, and you're tired because you're playing a day game and you didn't get much sleep the night before, and you still make a decision to come out and put in the reps, and that's what these guys have done. In terms of the fundamentals, if you want to reach this point in the season, you have to be a fundamentally sound team, and we weren't there the last few years, and it was something that was very important to Boch. It's something that we emphasized to our staff, and to everyone's credit, they've all prioritized it, and the players have responded and met us with their work ethic.
The end of the second row.
Chris, looking back, what did you guys see in Jonah Heim when you traded for him, and just how thankful are you that you were able to get him in that deal?
Well, switch-hitting catcher, first of all, that was the starting point, and then a player who we felt like he's a big guy. He did some things really well behind the plate. We felt like he would develop some power in time, and had a very good idea of the strike zone. So it's a pretty good foundation in terms of the hitter, and then the catcher. We knew he was soft hands behind the plate. There were things we didn't understand as well. In ways we've seen him grow in terms of the way he handles the pitching staff, his game preparation. It's been really, really impressive to see Jonah's growth. And again, looking back, I think some of that is, again, where we were as an organization in terms of allowing these guys the runway to go out and fail and have their moments where they went through tough times, they faced the adversity, and they were able to fight through it. And it's led in part to where we are today.
Kevin and Sean up front.
Chris, neither Evaldi nor Montgomery are going to blow guys away a lot. They use their pitches, number of pitches, 4 and 5. I'm wondering in a day when we see more pitchers and they're throwing them in the high 90s and starting pitchers even, that these guys go about it their way. Is that something that you in particular like to look for, or is that something that just kind of happened?
Well, there are a lot of guys that throw really hard. There are not many starters that sit in the upper 90s. I mean, they don't grow on trees. So, these guys are really good pitchers because they are able to pitch. They understand what their strengths are. They understand how to mix pitches. They move the ball up and down, north, south, front to back, in and out, and they keep hitters off balance. And that's what pitching is. And then they also have the intangibles and the poise to be able to make pitches when it matters most. And that's also a trait that is somewhat unique.
Come to Sean up front.
Obviously, when you got Evaldi, you knew you're getting a guy with considerable playoff experience. Jordan Montgomery didn't really have that. Was there something that you saw in him when you went out and got him that said this guy could help anchor a playoff rotation?
The last few years he's had a pretty good track record of performing, and we had heard really good things. Our scouting department did a great job of really understanding the player, doing some background work, talking to previous coaches and teammates, and we had a pretty good idea of the person, and felt like, given the way he had pitched up until the trade deadline, that it was likely he would continue pitching well. Can't say we expected him to do this well, but we wouldn't be here without him. He's been phenomenal and just a tremendous competitor, and it's been so fun watching him.
The middle of the fourth row,
Chris, here you are, still not yet 3 years removed from being hired, and you've built a team that has gotten to the World Series. I know it's not just a you thing. There's work that was done before you. There's work that's done by your entire staff. But have you taken a moment to kind of appreciate, hey, I built a World Series team?
No, and I won't. It's the collective. It'll never be. I'm one small part in this, and
Maybe we built it.
It started way before me. with really international signings going back 10 years ago, the draft 5-7 years ago. These are people in our organization who have made great decisions for a period of time, and I came in at a moment in time where things were, in my opinion, on the up. It may not have shown record-wise, but there was a foundation built by John Daniels, commitment from ownership with Ray Davis and many others within the org. And I can't commend our entire organization enough in terms of the way they've all come together. Nobody has been satisfied with where we've been, and we're here for a reason, and that's because so many people have committed and bought into a vision and really sacrificed to help us get here. And ultimately, these players are the ones who have made it happen, and they deserve the most credit. Bruce Bochy and his staff deserve a ton of credit, but it will always be about the collective group, and I'm just one small part of it.
Back left corner, Chris.
Chris, what were your expectations in March and April, and how did those change as the season went along? Do you remember a point where you said to yourself, maybe this team's a little better than I thought they were going to be?
As I reflect back kind of the beginning of the season, really almost a year ago to the Bruce Bochy press conference, I don't remember which reporter, and if you're in here you can raise your hand, but somebody asked him, do you really expect to be competitive next year? And I remember Boch kind of pounding the table and saying, don't tell me that we can't be competitive, that we can't win. And I saw our players' faces standing off to the side of the podium, and I remembered their expressions, and I could see some head nods, and I knew that he's going to be a difference maker, and the expectations were going to change, and that this team was going to come into spring training with a mentality of we expect to compete. I can't say that I knew that we would be here in the World Series, but our expectation in terms of the roster we assembled going into spring training was that we would have a chance to compete for a playoff spot and play meaningful games in September. And as it played out, that's exactly what's happened. But so much of that credit goes to Boch, and then these players for buying in, and they're the ones who've worked relentlessly day in, day out, and have had that collective vision and common goal to achieve this, and it's been pretty awesome to see.
I think Boch is just about ready, but we'll finish with Dave right here.
Chris, I think most fans would want teams to be built like the way you guys have built it. You brought in stars, you spent a lot of money to do it. Is there a lot of additional pressure when you do that, when you spend that kind of money? Your team is obviously more than just the money you've spent on some of the bigger names, but I wonder how much more that carries into it.
Yeah, I don't mean, the pressure is there regardless of how we do it. I mean, we expect to win, and that's something that I've felt my whole career, is that there's a pressure to win. It's a performance-based game, and so. But I will say that we have the luxury in this market to be aggressive in free agency, and our ownership has given us tremendous support, and we've been able to accelerate our rebuild through that. We've also lost some of these players. I mean, we lost Corey for a big portion of the season. We lost Jacob deGrom this year. It's not all about the high dollar signings. It's also about all the other players that often are role players that are also winning pieces that have come in trades, they've come in player development, international signings, stuff like that. So there's not one way to do it. I think there should always be pressure to win. I think that's what this game's about. I love the pressure, and I hope that never goes away.
Chris, thanks so much for your time.